Rev up your engines!
Well, Stellantis is at again. They're cutting over 1,100 jobs in Toledo, and they're slashing the production of their Jeep Gladiator. Now, everybody's whining about why are these things happening? Well, one of the reasons is not only does Jeep have problems with quality, the quality is going down the toilet, but they're too expensive. Okay, they're making less and less and less of the Gladiators. So I looked it up locally. If you want a fully loaded Gladiator around here, there was a 2025 Jeep Gladiator Sport for sale for $121,000. Who's paying that kind of money for one of these things, right? Now, I've had customers buy them, and when they told me it wasn't a fully loaded one like this crazy one, it was a regular one, and the guy only paid $66,000. It's still $66,000 for a Jeep, right? Nobody's buying the things, and that's why they're cutting production. Stellantis is in trouble. They're bleeding money out of their ears. So what are they going to do? They're going to stop producing things that they're not selling. They just thought, I guess at some point in time, that, well, it's a European company. Americans, they're all rich in America. They're all millionaires. They don't think anything is spending $100,000 for a Jeep. Well, guess what? Americans do. And that's why you can't sell the things on top of the quality is garbage. I read the article the other day. Guy had one of these things after 100 miles. The transmission broke on it. Well, with bad quality like that and high prices, it's no wonder people aren't buying them, and they have to cut production now, and they're laying people off. And of course, it's a European company, Stellantis, so the first thing they're going to do is lay off American workers. They don't care. They're a European company, right? So much for the UAW and their contract with Stellantis, because it doesn't mean anything if what they make isn't purchased by the public because of high price and low quality. Guess what? You're not going to have a job for much longer because they'll shut the factories down like they're doing now. This is just the beginning, as far as I can see. Well, be interested to see what's going to happen with the Trump administration. What is it going to mean for electric vehicles? Trump and many Republicans have condemned EVs, saying that they're being forced upon consumers and they'll ruin the U.S. automotive industry. Yet, old Elon gave $100 million to Trump, so we've got some contradictions going. It will be very interesting to see what happens with the electric car industry. What I have to say is, let's hope people stick to their guns. No more taxpayer government funding of these car companies. Let them sink or swim. I hope that's what they do, because then if people don't buy electric cars, they won't make electric batteries, they won't make electric cars, and it can go down the toilet, as it probably should have in the first place, not being rammed on technology that isn't ready for prime time. Washington, oh yes, that's great for the country, let's do this, blah, blah. They don't even think the ramifications of anything. Oh, look, we're going to have self-driving cars, it's great, great, great. What happens to all the people that drive Uber and Lyft, taxi cabs? They're out of a job. What are those people going to do for a living? Instead, the money will go to corporations that build Waymos and run the Waymos type corporations, self-driving cars. Yes, it's stupid. Maybe the politicians will finally wake up and smell the coffee and say, hey, these people are going to lose their jobs. Why are we building these? Why are we spending billions of dollars building self-driving cars? What is the point? And maybe they'll realize with electric cars, only time is going to tell. It'll be interesting to see what happens. The blind leading the blind. Oh, electric cars, they're phenomenal. I can't see it, but they're phenomenal. Maybe there'll be some pragmatic stuff now instead of just this philosophizing over, yes, we're going this way regardless of the consequences. This is a great idea, having electric cars, and there's nothing else that we could possibly do, so let's throw a bunch of our taxpayer money into it. It's a stupid idea. Let's hope they come to their senses now, and they don't keep subsidizing money after money after money to private companies to build cars that people don't want. Well, here's an interesting one. There is a Fiat dealer in Colorado, and he had offered a lease for a 2024 Fiat 500e at $19 a month and $0 down. You gotta admit, it's a tempting offer. Even though it is a horrible Fiat 500 electric car, for $0 down and $19 a month, it's almost a free car. Why not take advantage of it? Now, as far as I can find, it was a real car, but he only had one that he was doing it with too. So obviously it's some kind of a promotional thing to get things out there. Let's face the facts. They're not worth that much money anyway. So if the guy's almost basically giving it away, it's just like a giant advertisement. He got worldwide renown from this stunt that he's pulling, right? But somebody's going to get a car for $19 a month and $0 down. Even I have to admit, hey, buddy, you want to do a song? Give me one. I'll try it out. Send me one in Tennessee, and I'll road test the stupid thing. Hey, you never know. Maybe I'll be won over by the electric Fiat little car. I'd gladly try one out, honestly. You know, if anyone out there actually got this thing, if the one person who bought it, please contact me. I'd love to hear the actual story. Email scottykilmer@gmail.com. Tell me who you are. Show you a picture of you with the car that you just bought for $0 down and $19 a month. That'd be kind of interesting. Now, they're having a hard time selling these 500Ds in the United States. Okay, so far, get this. 470 Fiat 500E vehicles have been registered in the United States since the start of the year. Now, their original goal was 10,000, and there's what? December left, and they've only sold 470. So they got a long way to go before they sell 10,000 of them. We had all this stuff about Waymo, Schmamo, the self-driving taxi, blah, blah. Well, here's the reality. A guy did a study, and he found out that self-driving Waymos are more expensive than taxis or Ubers, and they take twice as long to get to the destination. They did a study of 50 rides that they randomly choose, and over 50 rides, the Waymo rides were not only more expensive, but they took twice as long compared to Uber. So much for, these self-driving cars going to be cheaper and faster. No, they cost more and they're slower, so they failed in just about everything. Now, in their 50 samples, the average Uber driver was $28.14, and the average Waymo was $9.50 more. The average time to pick up for Waymo was 7.2 minutes versus 3.4. Took more than twice as long for the Waymo to get to you. It's a self-driving machine. I guess they go slower. I don't know. And of course, there's a lot less of them too, I suppose. The average trip time in a Waymo was 33.58 minutes, and the average Uber was 15.2 minutes. That's 120% difference. Yeah, these things, they're going to save us. They're taking more of our time and more of our money. Hey, let's see. Who owns these Waymos? Corporations do. Oh, gee, they get more money out of us and more of our own time. Well, you kind of figured that was going to be the case, right? They promise one thing, but give you the exact opposite. Kind of like politicians. Here's a fascinating bit of energy information. The Chinese solar giant Trina sold its Texas factory 1 week after it opens, and they sold it the day that Kamala Harris said she lost the election and gave her consolation speech. Fascinating there. Trina Solar is selling its Texas solar panel factory as Chinese companies cashing in on American brakes are being scrutinized. And of course, the reason they make it over here because they thought, well, if we have a factory over here, then they won't give us tariffs. You know, just like ages and ages ago, Toyota, Honda, they started making cars in the United States because they realized if we make them in the United States, then they'll be happy and they won't give tariffs. Look at Honda. They've been making cars for decades in Ohio, and they do a very good job. But they moved it to the United States. Pretty smart. Now, in this case, the Chinese are just jumping ship. Whoop, here, you can have this factory. Now buy it, please. We don't want it anymore. We're worried what's going to happen in the Trump administration. They won't just hand us more and more money. This factory only came online November 1st. And then a week later, the Chinese, we're selling it, bye. We don't want it anymore. And of course, all this has to do with trade restrictions, right? The only reason the Chinese would build a factory here was to bypass the trade restrictions. Now they're worried, our little ploy might not have worked. They'll see through it. So they sold the company. A week after it opened up. Now, that's pretty fast. Normally, it takes more time for things, the dust to settle, right? Well, this time, dust settled. Whoop, the day Kamala says, I lost. Whoop, we're selling the factory. They sold to an American company. Pretty interesting. You can't make this stuff up. Well, much traveling around, and you got to watch out for construction sites. There was a shocking video, part of it here you can see. Construction workers in New York State, and then it comes truck, wham, right through, smashes in, obliterates a vehicle because he wasn't watching the road, didn't pay any attention to his construction ahead, and then wham. People are paying too much attention looking at their phones while they're driving. Let's face it, the American infrastructure is falling apart, and they got to keep fixing the highways. I saw, when I drove this time from Tennessee to Rhode Island, I must have seen 40 or 50 really large, miles and miles and miles each one, construction zones, right? I travel on the weekends. Saturdays and Sundays. They don't do construction Saturdays and Sundays, so you don't have to worry about the construction because they're not working. I saved hours driving from Tennessee to Rhode Island by going in on the weekends because there were so many things where the speed limit had gone down to 50, but it was still 70 because all the construction wasn't being constructed on the weekends. I don't go 70 in a 50 zone when they're doing construction. I only do it when it's still 70 because they're not constructing anything on the weekends. To me, it makes a lot of sense, but if you're traveling on the regular roads of construction, watch out. Gigantic wreck just because somebody wasn't paying attention, and all of a sudden there's workers on the road. Well, people just aren't paying enough attention when they're driving these days. You can say it till you're blue in the face, but it's still true. So pay a little bit more attention when you're driving down the road, especially at highway speeds. So if you never want to miss another one of my new car repair videos, remember to ring that bell.